Put your hands together for Mr. Trevor Kearney.
Shit, I haven't even done anything yet. At platform 10, there were groups of children playing on the play structures. I was walking by when I saw one of them removed from all of the others. He didn't have any friends, he just sat in silence, moving around pieces on a chessboard. But without opponents to play against, he just sat there, upset and bored. I walked over to him, I offered a challenge. He nodded and then he smiled. But now in competition, I still want to win, even if I'm playing a child. He pushed a pawn and it was game on. I played, then began talking trash. But before long, all my pieces were gone. The kid looked straight at me and laughed. Cause he easily took an unprotected rook with a move that went completely undetected. Next he picked up one of my bishops like the piece it had defected. I felt like a dork getting caught in a fork like a piece of ravioli. And I desperately looked for some last resort, but the kid, he had me so beat. His mother sat beside him as he boxed my king in. I lost and was too stunned to speak. She said, "Thanks for letting him win. If you want to play him again, we'll be here at this time next week." Humiliated, devastated. I hated myself. I wanted to die. How could a child win the meeting of minds? That is chess. That is chess. Playing him was a blunder. Of that there is no doubt. Because along with the pieces he plundered, he also ripped my heart out. I had fits of panic while out walking on the street, 'cause everything looked like a gigantic version of his chess pieces. My confidence was shot by psychological warfare. The battle gave me shell shock and I wake up with nightmares. I was in distress, I was a mess, feeling so useless. I knew the feeling wouldn't pass until I could best my child at chess. I needed to beat that child at chess. I needed to beat that child at chess. For some reason, my chess coach wanted to train me on the metro. He set up a chessboard on one of the seats. He said, "Let me give you some advice. Chess is a lot like life. And if you wanna get it right, you'd better listen to me. You gotta control the center. Protect the zone if pieces enter. Get your pieces activated. If they're not doing anything, you gotta make your pieces work together. Castle before you're under pressure. Look to make your position better, and you will get there, king." I said, "That's really good advice. I'm not sure how that applies to life. It's really good advice when it comes to playing chess." Then he took a swig of whiskey, which up until then I didn't see. And he said, "Yes, the best that you can hope for is to die having sex." And Bobby Fischer was right about the Jews. Hey. Can't be saying stuff like that. And wrong in the kitchen. Hey. No, that's wrong. Listen, mister, you might be really good at chess, but it doesn't sound like your opinions are really well established when it comes to like other aspects of life. You're horrible, man. I'm out of here. Where am I? Poimondon? Okay. And I went back to the park for the rematch, but first I had to remember what he said. You gotta control the center. Protect your zone if pieces enter. Get your pieces activated. If they're not doing anything, you gotta make your pieces work together. Castle before you're under pressure. Look to make your position better, and you will get there, king. There was one other thing. Bear with me. Okay. You gotta control the center. Protect your zone if pieces enter. Get your pieces activated. If they're not doing anything, you gotta make your pieces work together. Castle before. Okay. You gotta. We're gonna do the fucking giant steps of the poker song. Okay, no. We're back to business. We're back at Parc La Fontaine. Okay. All right. And the child virtuoso is dauntingly sitting there in front of me, all 4'6" of him. Oh my God. And it starts, as with every chess match, the opening. It started on kingside pawn. I went with Sicilian defense, which he opted to keep open. So I deployed accelerated dragon. He castled long. I put on some tension, forcing an exchange, which got me compensation. A really nice centralized position. I didn't see he had my pieces skewered. Moving one to safety, he went in and got the other, putting him at a strong material advantage. I didn't resign. There was time in the middle game to regain some type of semblance of winning. I realized I could put his king in discover check, which resulted in a windmill being set. With this in action, it was a bloodbath. I captured all the pieces that were in my path. But he forced a move of utter brilliancy, made it even again by sacrificing his queen, and that's how we approached the end game. The end game. His naked king went from being a vulnerability to being strong cause of its proximity to pieces, but I blockaded his pawn mobility, and on the edge of the board I had superiority. 2 pawns to his 1, I knew what one I pushed on. His lonely pawn was stuck in Zugzwang. He moved 2 spots, I forgot en passant. I did not, I took his pawn and went on a promotion, making my pawn a queen, and went on to checkmate him. I win! Suck it, you little fucking bastard, you! I win! I am myself again! Were you guys able to like follow the game in your minds? That was pretty. Because I hope you guys are good with chess, because there's going to be 6 more songs about chess. The next one's called the Ruy Lopez Spanish. There's no more songs about chess. In my kitchen, you'd think that I was the chef of a logging camp in the north of Quebec, cooking for 20 or more lumberjacks, when really I was just doing my own personal meal prep. I made more soup than what could fit into my crock pot, so I had to scoop it into my bathtub. I chopped vegetables as I myself washed up, almost accidentally circumcised my baby carrot. No bouillon cubes, I used the taste of my bathwater instead. And what I didn't eat right away, I refrigerated. but the mushrooms soaked up the broth and expanded to the size of my head. They absorbed my consciousness, and in excruciating pain they said, "Oh God, I wish I was dead." That was my impression of a sentient mushroom. I'll be here all night. Oh God. Tossing out leftovers, I uttered a sigh. It felt irresponsible to let them putrefy, but I gave meal prepping another try as I made a really big stir fry. Made enough to eat for 40 days and 40 nights. Packed up my freezer this time. All tight, I learned my lesson. But after a week of eating nothing but stir fry, one bite and I would lose my appetite. To shake things up, I knew what I'd do. Get in my car and go to the drive-thru. Advancing to a window, I picked up my food, which was prepared by a stoner in high school. I inhaled it and immediately got indigestion. So I had to rush in to use the restroom. It shot out of me just as fast as it went in. Also looked the same upon further inspection. Naturally, I ate it again. Shit's expensive. Not sure what I do going forward. I headed out to the grocery store, but as food prices continued to soar, there was less and less I could afford. So hurt and hungry and half alive, I went into the parking lot to dumpster dive. But in there already was a family of 5, feasting on the famine flesh of a different dead family of 5. They ate their innards like they were bratwurst, and then they drank some blood to quench their thirst. As far as the things in my life I've seen, it was the worst. I was upset that I couldn't get to them first. Outside it was pure pandemonium. The widespread famine was affecting everyone. Man-made starvation had led us to become too weak to try a revolution. Big food had won. It's unbeknownst to our society, while we always needed food to eat, the places we bought our groceries had been consuming you and me. As I approached what I believed to be the end, I heard an announcement from the government stating that we'd all receive a $500 stipend, and the food issue was solved, and we never had to worry about it again. Thank you, government. You're the best, government. Thank you. Getting together to eat has been a tale as old as time. I was recently invited to an épluchette de blé d'Inde, and I'm an Anglo-Quebecois, so I'd never heard of such a thing. But what it is at the corn harvest, people get together and they shuck the corn together, and then they all eat it. To me, it sounded fishy. It sounded suspicious. I was fairly convinced I was the Anglophone that was going to be sacrificed for this meal. When I got there, I kind of showed some proficiency in French. And so they said, you know what? We're going to give this guy a chance. And they threw another anglophone into the cauldron. Sous la condition que j'ai besoin d'améliorer mon français. Sinon, il me lance dans le marmotte. Marmite, sorry. Marmotte is a groundhog. Marmite, that's cauldron. And I'm clear, but this group over here, they're like the language police. They're making sure that a certain quota of my set is in French. There'll be some words. This next song is about being nice to people. It's titled Sticks and Stones. You say sticks and stones, they break my bones. But words will never hurt me. But it's a widely known fact that with a well-thrown spear, the Inuit in the Arctic can inflict death on a fully grown polar bear. What makes you think you could survive better than a polar bear? Yes, way before recorded history, sticks and stones have been used in lethal weaponry. There's been harpoons and machetes, clubs that could kill you easily. And even if you had tried to flee, a bow and arrow could have been used to hunt you down from a distance. This has all been well documented by archaeologists. Read a book. Oh, and by the way, in parts of the world today, stoning is still used as a form of execution for those sentenced to capital punishment, and the manner that this is accomplished is by simply hurling stones at someone until they're dead. Hell, even on their own, sticks and stones can inflict damage that is far greater than mere injury without even having a human operator. For instance, a landslide caused by an earthquake, or a falling branch, which we even now call a widowmaker. Yes, there's so many ways for sticks and stones to kill you. Also, sometimes words hurt. Heartwarming song about killing people with stones. It's nice to be nice to everyone, but there's one group of people that we can choose to not be nice to if we so feel. I used to try to get people to guess what group of people this was, but I stopped doing that. Oh no, I don't want to know. The group of people that I'm referring to are landlords. Yeah, fuck landlords. So I'm gonna sing a song dedicated to all my former landlords. How about that? This is called Semi-Basement. I was sitting around my apartment one evening when I got a call from my landlord, which got me all queasy cause it probably meant I was late on rent again. Uh-oh. Hey, Mr. Landlord, what's happening? I have a cousin who is soon moving to this beautiful nation of opportunity. Well, what's your family reunion got to do with me? Well, he's going to need a place to stay. Well, if I hear about a place to stay, I'll give you a shout straight away. Now, have a good day. Oh, hold on, my tenant. In the fine print of a rental agreement, it says that if my cousin is in desperation, I may offer him the apartment. You are being evicted. You have 2 months to beat it. I could hardly believe it, but I took the stance of an optimist, cause that apartment was really not the best. Let me tell you, why? That damn apartments had bed bugs and lice, earwigs and silverfish, fruit flies and mice, dust mites and spiders climbing up the walls. There's been all kinds of vermin, and maybe worst of all, I've shared the apartment with a girlfriend. And a girlfriend will really make your skin crawl, but it's against the exterminator's protocols to poison pests who have inalienable human rights. They won't do it. That damn apartment's leaky lead pipes caused mildew and mold and all kinds of fungi. The walls had gaping holes, they expose an old wiring that could have had me killed in an electrical fire. Of course, that's if asbestos didn't get to me first. And if I'm being honest, I'm not sure if it would have been worse to die quick death in a fiery inferno or to hack up my lungs with mesothelioma. Anybody know a good lawyer? With no time to waste, I sought a new apartment. I saw a sign up for a place doing an open visit, but inside, people were all packed in real tight. Started calling out expensive bids left and right. When some family with young kids incited a fight, the husband eye gouged, the wife started to bite. The toddler disemboweled people with a carving knife. The daughter overpowered someone, grabbed them by the neck and schlepped them up the rising steps. Her victim was short of breath and highly distressed. I watched him fly to his death with a violent suplex. I barely escaped with my life when that little girl got up crying, "Who's next?" Whoa. What just happened? I found a spot atop a duplex that was charming and warm, but was given a long and complex application form, and so I started reading it, as you do with a contract, but it's not like I was in much of a position to dispute anything. Hell, for some shelter, I would have signed my fucking soul away. Now here's what was on the application form, okay? It's not me, it's the application form. Don't cancel me. Check for credit, criminal record, employment, letter, and references from every place that the applicant has ever lived. A speck of so much as a noise complaint, and he ain't getting a flat, that's for sure. A liability like that deserves to die from exposure. Also, don't have a disability or be a visible minority. By the way, there's an application fee, but trust me, bro, it's official. That's how it was written. Now please sign, date, and initial. I filled it in meticulously and submitted it straight into the garbage. That was the only place that would accept it. In the blink of an eye, 2 months passed by. I was evicted and cast outside. I did some couch surfing, which I believe is way harder than actual surfing on the water's biggest waves. Cause one by one, my friends would say, "Hey man, by the end of the day, you better be gone." So I called up my very last friend, asking if he had a couch to sleep on, or maybe an air mattress or a futon. And he said yes, under the condition that I wore a dress and put high-heeled shoes on. Then I could stay as his French maid. I didn't want to do it, but I was afraid that I'd really be homeless. Or worse, I'd be forced to move back in with my parents. So under duress, I became the sexiest French maid you ever saw. Straight out of a fantasy, thigh-high stockings and everything. And after completing all my chores, I'd apply for apartments and apply some more, only to be shown the door or be asked suggestively if I wasn't really a prostitute. I'd say, no, I'm just destitute, doing what I've got to do. And they'd say, that's how a lot of people get their start as prostitute. It's true. Downtown near the apartment where I was kicked out, hordes of people were bowed down, and I wanted to check it out, because by the way they were kissing the ground, You'd think that Jesus Christ had come back around, but it was just my old landlord, taking the title of Lord far too seriously. Then again, he can afford property, and Jesus Christ himself couldn't conjure up that kind of wealth. His net worth was just 30 pieces of silver. Hey, Mr. Landlord, is my place free again? Yes, my cousin moved to a new mansion. Well, shouldn't I have first dibs at my old crib then? Well, I've done a large amount of renovations and raised rent to account for inflation. And the neighborhood has undergone gentrification, and it's all become too expensive for you to stay in. And among the nearby residences, there was a mass exodus of diaspora, now directionless, hoping to find some new ghetto that they wouldn't be forced to let go. And after the landlord had me dismissed, I kept looking for a place, but I was running out of ideas. I'd already tried all the classifieds, but not a single proprietary replied, so I went through the obituaries, calling the kin of those who died, saying what's going on with their place now that they're buried outside. They called me a jerk, an insensitive clown. I said they don't need an apartment if they're underground. Little did I know that I would be too. Not dead, just subterranean. Because to my utter amazement, a landlord returned my call and said she had something vacant. And would I mind if it was a semi-basement? I said, lady, at this point, I wouldn't mind if it was a crucifix. So long as the rent is low. I packed up my things, moved into my new home. It was exciting to have my own semi-basement apartment in a crowded tenement, home to all kinds of tenants. Upstairs, they've got a tap dancing Doberman. Across the hall, there's someone who is all bohemian. Beside me, there's a family with 2 young children, both of whom have autism. And on the other side of me, there's someone with ambiguous gender expression, who is roommates with a man who has sexual relations with men. And all through the building, there's people with different colored skin, practicing different religions and holding differing opinions. And one thing we all have in common is that we all just need a place to live in. Family is really important, and it's important for the following reason. That is the title of the next song. The title of the song is Laundry. To make things right with my family, 'cause ever since our fight I haven't done my laundry. I'm in great despair. I need to call my mama, 'cause instead of underwear I'm rocking pajamas. The inside-out method can be used once only. Then it's like you're on your deathbed. Really, really smelly. The inside of my boxers is like a nice painting done in watercolors with droplets of pee. All my colleagues say I smell real bad. They're now avoiding me. That part's actually not so bad. Quick trick. All colleagues will hate you for this one. Even if I could afford the machine in my building's tokens, I'm avoiding my landlord, and he's on my case for my weed smoking. And I don't want to get evicted again. Hey Mom, my apologies. Blame is 100% mine. By the way, is the washing machine empty? I'm just gonna throw in a load real quick, if you don't mind. All right, so this song is a little bit more of a heartwarming song. Calvin and Hobbes. Since we don't have money and we don't have jobs, let's go to the library. Read Calvin and Hobbes. We'll have to give the toss to the slobs wiping their snot on the beanbag chairs. Come over here and take a look. Some kid thought this was a coloring book and took the liberty of crudely pigmenting all the tigers orange. Well, now there really isn't a more heinous crime. The kid deserves to do hard time. But you know what? I don't mind. The work's now one of a kind and it's kinda cute. Hey, have you ever thought of making a comic strip? No, I don't mean removing my outfit. I mean something just like this. A clever and precious miracle of art. Oh, it could be a place for both our kinds of sketches. Maybe we could do a collaboration, combine our two big imaginations. I could write my stupid jokes while your pen strokes become the illustrations. Oh, it could be a place for both our kinds of sketches. Well, you hide your sketchbooks, but I've seen your doodles on napkins while out eating noodles. And baby, I know you're shy, but trust me when I say I think they're really beautiful. For me, I've always wanted to be a comic, but getting on stage makes me wanna vomit. Well, I would far prefer if the stage was your nicely drawn panels. And if a newspaper thinks we're onto something, But pick us up and give us money and we will have it made. Make it art and getting paid. Hey, what's so funny? But if our work sucks, we'll do the next best thing. I'll save up and get you a wedding ring, and we can tie the knot and bring a little tot into the world. Hopefully not one who wipes their snot on the beanbag chairs. Of course, then we'll really have to make some bread, 'cause otherwise we'll all be dead, and work would bring me dread. If I knew I had you guys to come home to, and I may not get to be a writer, I'll likely be a clerk or a delivery driver, but for my family I'll deliver all the discreet boxes of vibrators. Did you know all the packages that you see contain vibrators? Every package out on the street's got a vibrator in it. Vibrator interlude. If you never take a break, you might unknowingly make a really big mistake that will bring you heartache. Your smiles will all be fake. You'll live life half awake, only for the sake of painstakingly obeying your calendar. And do you want to let your calendar dictate your future? Or baby, do you want to go on an adventure? So don't do that interview tomorrow. If we need money, we can try to borrow. Let's keep coming to the library until we feel ready to make something of our own. So that when our child helps themselves to our failed project on the shelves and colors it in, our work won't be ruined. It'll be something new, and isn't that exactly what a family is? After playing some tunes at my local Greasy Spoon, I retreat to a booth to eat my payment of food. Although I sometimes feel the gig is not ideal, I know where to get a meal when the hunger pangs get real. I flip my tip jar to see if I received gratuities, but nobody paid money or attention to me. Unperturbed, I keep my head up high. In a pool of ketchup, I eagerly dip a fry. But right before eating my French fry, something comes buzzing by. It's an annoying little fly. Is quite the nuisance, and my shoeing is utterly useless, because it somehow seems to sense all all of my frantic movements and unaware of my circumstances. Customers cast annoyed glances as the fly easily dances away from my advances. Well, it is clear to see it's got aerial supremacy, and I am gonna need to change my strategy. As the fly, it hovers around my head like a halo. I sink into my booth and I cunningly lay low, deceiving the fly into thinking it may safely go atop my French fried potatoes. Oh. I missed. With food on my face and shirt, I get more strange looks from customers. The waitress brings a napkin dispenser and says, "Don't do that again, sir." And as I wipe my face and clothes, I figured I must have gotten close when I see the fly pressed against the window, trying to pass to the outside world, which for a fly must be superior, with smelly garbage everywhere. But it's trapped by a barrier. I can't imagine anything scarier. From the napkin dispenser, I see my reflection, and I fall into a strange sort of introspection. Well, all through my life, just like the fly, I have faced rejection. Maybe the fly needs protection. So I use my napkin dispenser to smash the windows panes of glass, so that the fly can pass to its paradise at last. Customers cry in condemnation, but it sounds like an ovation. The waitress emerges from her station, saying, "Get out, don't come back to play again." And as I face my exile, I start to smile, 'cause if the fly finds a garbage pile, it will all have been worthwhile. On the sidewalk where the window shattered, among the shards of glass that are scattered against the napkin dispenser that is beaten and battered, the fly's corpse lay splattered. This next song is called U.F.O, and it is about aliens. So I'm gonna get a prop for this.
Oh my god, it's hilarious. Can you brush your hair with that?
Yes. I don't even know if I can fucking see anything. Okay, let's see if I can do this. I walk home after a show downtown to the plateau. In the distant sky I saw a glow that looked like a U.F.O. I know I wasn't on any drugs, at least nothing out of the ordinary. Pot. Floating like a satellite at skyscraper height, a discoidal blob of bright green light was right there in plain sight. My first guess is that it was intergalactic visitors. Oh no. It can't be aliens, that's all science fiction. So in need of an explanation, I conducted an investigation. I walked towards the glowing orb in order order to learn of its source. And as I walked, I got lost in thought. As I walked, I got lost in thought. What if the aliens bring new technology, unlike anything we've ever seen, offering unlimited utility and benefiting humanity? We will live in luxury with everything we could ever want or need, with a beautiful new harmony between intergalactic species. So I continued my trek through the commercial district. The light looked more like a spaceship as I got closer to it. I was getting ready for the new alien technology when suddenly I was stopped by the hand of a homeless man. He said, "Could you spare some change perchance?" I said, "I'm sorry, but I can't." But the truth is that I could have. Those types of interactions always left me high-strung. The city center had become somewhat of a slum. Someone should really do something about that. And my uneasiness slipped into my thoughts on the aliens. What if on first contact we are attacked? What if we are plundered, pillaged, and ransacked? And after conquering humanity, we'll be subject to their tyranny, forced into brutal slavery in mines and in factories. The end goal of their industry will be environmental catastrophe. And when the earth is depleted, that's when the aliens will leave. I knew I wasn't too far when it looked like a blazing star. When I arrived at Place des Arts, the light was directly upwards. And that's when I saw what caused the thing. It was lights off the Complexe des Jardins. Wasn't aliens after all in the sky of Montreal. It was only a shopping mall, no cause to fear our downfall. I let out a sigh of relief and cried out, "No aliens, we're safe." My shouting spooked the homeless man and his tribe of friends. He looked at me like I was an alien from a distant planet. And I continued my walk home. Anybody want to wear these for the show? This is called the Atwater Market. Among myriad smells of the Atwater Market, the garbage, the body odor, the fromagerie, and the fishmonger, there's one smell stronger than the others. It wafts over to me, tickles my olfactory nerve. I recognize it instantly. It triggers a memory. I fall into deep reminiscence. I remember it now vividly. It was grade 3 French class. She unclenched her ass and she farted really loud. The whole class started laughing, but she was proud of it. She really let it rip. entrenched and enshrouded in the stench cloud. The teacher turned around aghast at the gas that was passed. She said, "C'est lequel de vous ever dégueulasse qui est là?" She said, "Spit the melt on my class." She was upset to learn the culprit was her teacher's pet, with her hand up feigning embarrassment. But the teacher was too perplexed to dole out punishment, because she couldn't see how her favorite student could fart like a cow. That's a vash. Don't get me, language police. My group wasn't sitting particularly close to her, but the fart dissipated to where we were. I had a chance to really contemplate it. Now I'm no sommelier, but I know a good fart when I smell one. And hers was rich and complex and aged to perfection. It had a bit of a kick, but also some sweetness, and one kid vomited. But hey, nowadays everyone's a critic, and I saw that it was artistic, because in that moment she farted into my heart. She farted into my heart. She farted into my heart. Family made one to France, but she came to school for one last chance to say goodbye to her friends. And as she left, the final fart fell from her pants. And I smelt it all the way to Pierre Elliott Trudeau. And if her plane had open windows, I'd have smelled her at Charles de Gaulle, across the ocean on the streets of Paris. Oui, oui. That's what they say in Paris. By the way, Pierre Elliott Trudeau, T. Makes you think. Based on the smell, I guess she's back in Montreal, or at least no farther than Laval. When I follow the scent along the Lachine Canal, I know that I am nearing the source when I arrive at a clearing and the smell picks up force. And though it stinks so good, my heart sinks to my stomach. The picnic table with her family, her children are in agony. The fartlet slipped, but her husband seems pretty cool with it. I guess she's happy. Well, if there's anything that I know, is that if you love someone, you gotta let it show. So as I walk by, I unload the worst fart I ever farted. And I definitely shit my pants a bit, but I knew I had to do it. I knew I had to do it. I knew I had to do it. I knew I had to do it, since she farted into my heart. She farted into my heart. She farted into my, she farted into my, she farted into my heart. Every morning I have to pass the broom and sweep the dust collected on the floor. I don't know how it gets into my room. Perhaps it has a key to my front door. Or maybe dust bunnies having orgies are reproducing underneath the bed. If true, I'd gladly be a dust bunny, because that kind of life don't sound so bad. I find while looking through the library some books on dust atop some dusty shelves. While reading, I learn of something scary. The origin of that dust is ourselves. It's hair and nails and layers of dead skin. It lives off of crumbs which have fallen. It's clothed in a wardrobe of pocket lint, forgotten spots, its habitation. Scientists say that every 7 years, each one of our body's cells are replaced. I guess the old ones don't just disappear. They become dust and spread all over the place. And I realize that the morning's blanket of dust is a dying version of me. I immediately start to panic as I come to face my mortality. 'Cause nothing I do can prevent the fate of ultimately encountering death. I will continue to disintegrate until I have taken my final breath. One day I'll be inside of the dustpan, and it will be the final trace of me. Someone will put me in the garbage can. The plastic bag will end up on the street and be picked up by a waste collector and heaved into a big old garbage truck filled with other plastic bags from my neighbors, as they also become dust. And we'll go to the dump, which is like heaven, and be unloaded on a pile of junk. The plastic bags will all be torn open by birds, foxes, raccoons, squirrels, and skunks. Will be taken away by a swift wind, carried upwards and rapidly dispersed, so that in death, like in life, will be drifting and carelessly occupy the earth, which will also become nothing but dust. Just like the pile on the floor of my room, some waking God looking down on us will sweep us away with the pass of a broom. Friend having coffee when I first confessed that I thought that I was depressed. Said I barely got the motivation to leave my bed and get dressed. My thoughts are in a vortex of bitter hopelessness. She looked at me and said, "Am I supposed to be impressed? You know, my brother's in juvie, my mother's got cancer in her breasts, and my father's an abusive wretch who beats the family. We're from a war-torn country rife with political unrest, and I'm a refugee. I'm neglected and oppressed. I've slipped into poverty, and now I'm dispossessed. If there's anyone who should be depressed, it's me." Sorry. Well, it was a start, but I kept falling apart. I went to my parents' place for dinner and a much-needed heart-to-heart. I told them I had something I wanted to get off my chest. My mom said, "Don't worry, we've always known you were homosexual, and we love you just the same." I said, "No, that's not it. I'm just depressed is all, but don't worry, you're not to blame." My father spit out his drink, thinking I was talking in jest. When he saw I was serious, he said, "That's preposterous. We gave you the best upbringing you could have asked of us. We've arduously tried to do what we could to provide same for your grandparents who have died, granting prosperity at their bequest. It would be smirch and bring shame to the family name if you say that you're depressed. Be more appreciative, don't be so selfish. Met my drinking buddy at the bar to watch some sporting contest. At halftime, when it was appropriate, I casually expressed that I'd been feeling depressed. And he said, oh. That's it. Cause he's got the emotional insight of a can of tuna. We then sat through commercials, spokespeople talk in circles about life's undeniable hurdles, until they slyly shoehorned referrals to products that they were meant to advertise. I'm normally well aware of all their patterned lies, but one plug really caught my eyes. It stated that exercise was a wise way to ward off depression. Come to this gym, bring your own towel. So I registered for a membership which included a session with a trainer who'd recommend a regimen to help manage my depression. Let me tell you, the trainer, he was quite the specimen. He said, when I feel depressed, I like to work out my chest. Let's get you started on the bench press. I laid down on the bench and his crotch was in my face as he loaded the bar with 6 iron plates. He then told me to take the weight, and when my broken ribs finally coalesced, I was still depressed. I told my treating doctor that I was depressed. He said he was going to run some tests. A nurse strapped me to a gurney and took me on a journey through the hospital's labyrinthine halls. Someone asked if I was Trevor Kearney. When I said yes, they then turned me towards a room that read electroconvulsive therapy. It was like a scene from Cuckoo's Nest. And when I overcame the shock, I was still depressed. With nothing left but depression, I pestered pedestrians with all kinds of pressing questions. I said, can you tell me what the recourse is if I don't have any resources and I am depressed? And here's what the masses suggest. Try to cheer up. Can't you just get over it? Stop overthinking. You gotta live like love is too shall pass. Things aren't so bad. It's all about your attitude. Sorry if that was anyone's tattoos. Where did the general public learn all these fake platitudes? They're putting me in a bad mood, worse than I ever was before. Then on the sidewalk was this mother and daughter, and the little girl said, "You need to drink more water." Finally, something actionable. I got a water bottle. A glug, 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 glug. I chug, 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 chugged it down. And when it was empty, I refilled it at a fountain. And then I chugged it down again. I just kept hydrating, drinking like a fish, until I had to piss. But I was in public. So I went to a restaurant's hostess, told her I was depressed. Sorry, that I had to piss. Could I please use the facilities? She said they were reserved for paying customers. I furiously cussed at her and said, "Oh, fuck it, no matter." I waddled to an alley to empty out my bladder. I found a nice spot behind a dumpster, and I held on to my member like it was a hose, and the urine started to flow. The liquid levels quickly rose into a meandering river, which grew mighty and turbulent, with waters yellow, smelly, turbid, and full of all my depressed toxins. It flooded the downtown core like a tsunami, killing everyone I spoke about before, including the young girl and her mommy. It was a really big catastrophe. When I finished my piss, the river went dry. I started zipping up my fly when I was handcuffed by a policeman. He said, "I'll book you for public urination." Drinking all the water resulted in manslaughter. I was under arrest and still depressed. After a little while, they started my trial. I was public enemy number one. The prosecutor brought up the coroner's inquest, explaining that I was the cause of all too many deaths. And my only defense was to attest that I was depressed. But this left a bad impression on the jury, who looked at me with eyes of fury and hurried to find a guilty verdict. And the judge got ready to hand me my sentence. He said the only retribution that makes sense is capital punishment. There's a social order we need to preserve, and someone with depression doesn't deserve exemption. You're heinous, and we need to make an example out of you. The bailiff took me away to wait in a cell until my death. My cellmate asked me what I was in for, and I told him depression. And that got me a lot of street cred. I was the prison yard's head honcho. Even the guards couldn't look me in the eyes. Have you ever been called a sicko by a serial killer neo-Nazi? I have. It was the night before they put me to death. The chaplain read my last rites and heard my confessions. I asked him if depression was a sin. He said, "My son, I hope you weren't expecting to go to heaven, because they won't let you in. You're a bummer. Jesus didn't die for you." The method of execution was electrocution. At the chair I was having deja vu, and the executioner strapped me in like some weird form of BDSM. I may or may not have had an erection at the weird display of public exhibition. Then the executioner asked if I had any last words, and I took a few moments to consider. And then the executioner, he tapped me on the shoulder. He said, "All right, boy, I think time's over. Have you got anything to say?" And I saw the audience staring up at me, and I had a pang of performance anxiety. And all I could muster up the courage to say was, "No, maybe some other time." Thank you so much, everybody. That was dinner and a show.